Stream is preparing. We are live.
In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm Rafael Kalamat. With me, as always, is Michael Bleackley in Vancouver. I'm traveling right now on the road. We have a very special guest. He's been on NBA TV, Turner Sports, CBS, and now the Champions Learning Center, a very experienced man from the Golf Channel. We have Vince Cellini. Vince, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, Mike, for having me. Yes, I'm experienced. I'm seasoned, I would say, as a broadcaster. We'll use that one.
There we go.
You know, so great to have you on. We've been following your career and everything that happens on tour, all the tours for that matter. And we like to start the show off by talking about your career. Let our audience get to know you a little bit. Tell us about how you got involved in sports and in golf, in broadcasting, where it all started, and lead us up to where you are today.
Okay, well, I always say that I think most people that I've talked to that have been on camera or broadcasters probably wanted to do this very early in life. At least that's, the common story I hear. And for me, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And I remember as a Cleveland public school kid, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, that we had a trip to an educational center, which had a closed circuit television where you could be seen and talk and actually see yourself on camera. I'd never seen that before. Now you have to remember, this is like 1969 or 70. So immediately I was hooked. I said, that's what I want to do. I really enjoyed that experience. And I made it a point to try to say that, that was going to be the career path I wanted to follow. I didn't know how I was going to get there because I was kind of a blue collar working class kid, but that was my dream to get there. And eventually I did. I got out of school, did some radio work, and then got an internship at the CBS affiliate in Cleveland, Ohio. And a man named Virgil Dominic gave me an opportunity. One of the people that I feel like if you're successful in any type of work, someone has to champion you along the way. You have these people who give you opportunities, and he was certainly one of them, the first. So I did an internship there for a year, which was basically like going to grad school for television. I learned how to do TV, production, direction, on camera, writing, all of the components that went into that. And I did 7 years of weekends there, which I loved. It was my hometown. But then I moved on to CNN Sports in Atlanta in October of 1989, and my whole world opened up. Everything good that ever happened to me in broadcasting happened because of CNN Sports.
Yeah.
And hosting NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, and just the shows and going international. So that's kind of where it took me, and then eventually to golf, following CNN Sports. And I'm doing golf today, among other things.
No, very cool. And we're big fans of your career, and pretty excited when you got to the Golf Channel. What was that like when you arrived there? Because from what we gather, Peter Kessler was removed from the team, and now enters Vince Cellini. So what was that like when you got to Golf Channel?
Yeah, by the time I got there in January of 2003, I really I never met Peter. I think Peter, that whole thing had happened before I got there.
Yeah.
But I did know that the first show I was going to do was going to be Golf Talk, which was always with Arnold Palmer, and it was a live TV audience. So
yeah.
I had really been out of TV. I had a severance package from CNN Sports. I really had not done television in about a year, maybe a little over a year. So I was kind of nervous again. It was like starting over. And in particular, going to the Golf Channel, when I was at CNN Sports, the late great Jim Huber covered golf for us. You guys remember Jim Huber covering golf? And Jim passed away, but that was his beat. And when I got to Turner, I did a little bit of, I'm getting ahead of myself here when I'm going back to Turner. But when I got to Golf Channel, it was absolutely having to acclimate myself to an entirely new level of covering that sport. Mm-hmm. So I always say covering golf is a little bit like maybe covering the NHL or NASCAR. You really have to be schooled in the various levels of what exactly is going on. And in golf in particular, as you both know, winning here gets you into here. And then there are different levels of money, and then how you advance your career, and then what this means, and Walker Cup, President's Cup, knowing all of these different aspects of golf. So for the first year, I really had to immerse myself in some of the history of the sport and do some deep diving and study. It took me about a good year of covering the tour to really get my feet under me and understand golf to that level.
Yeah.
But you were saying it was, for me, going to Golf Channel from CNN Sports, the nice part about that was I didn't have to necessarily be reintroduced to the players. So they were very welcoming and accepting me into their world, which I always am grateful for, that those guys kind of had a familiarity with me, and then we began sort of relationships and trust. So, but it was different. It was different, guys, because when you cover golf, you know, you can go into a football locker room after a bad loss, playoff loss, NFL loss, and kind of direct to a player and say, hey, you know, the defense did this today, or there was a little breakdown in the offense over here. But when you're talking to those guys, players, it's individual. You know, you're actually critiquing and acknowledging what took place that particular round or rounds. So it's very personal for the guys. And as you know, because you guys work the sport, any negativity that creeps into the mind of a player is just poison. Yeah. So you kind of tread lightly, fair, but lightly, and learning how to sort of question in more of a golf speak manner, I would say. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. And the nice part about golf, it's over by sundown.
Yeah, so that's right.
You know, it's great.
You know what's incredible, Vince? Your first guest was Arnold Palmer, and alongside Joseph Gibbs, and you were doing the Golf Channel, doing those interviews. What was that like, working with Arnold Palmer and then going on to doing great shows? I still don't understand to this day why they don't have the Big Break on. It was such a huge success.
My favorite show.
Oh, everyone loved that show. And
you know, working with Stephanie Sparks. So what was that like, meeting Arnold, interviewing him, and then, you know, doing such a great hit show like Big Break?
Well, you know, first of all, I was nervous, like I said, to come back anyway, but to sit there next to a legend in Arnold Palmer, who I'd never had, I don't think I'd met, or at least not met one-on-one. And I remember prior to going on, we were talking a little bit. He's a Steeler fan. I was a Browns fan. And one of the last things he said to me before we went out on the set, he said, listen, do a good job tonight. You remember what happened to the last guy. and then he kind of laughed. He was just kidding. But I was very, very nervous. But Arnold had that way about him where he made everyone feel important and relaxed. And, you know, it was a joy just to be in his presence. And that was a real thrill for me to be seated next to Arnold Palmer in that opening foray into Golf Channel. As far as Big Break is concerned, I came in on Big Break 3, which was the
ladies only,
which is still the best, not because I'm on it. It's still the most magical ride of any Big Break, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because it had real drama, and it had real competition, and it had real characters, and you had sort of the villain, and then you had the upstart, and then you had the veteran, and then you had the tough one, and all of these personalities. The one thing I always try to do, aside from the competition itself, was bring that out. Like, who are these people? And then find out what were good, I don't want to say buttons to push, but maybe areas to go to get the best out of them. But Big Break Ladies Only was still just it was magic. It was great. That was a good one. And I think I did about five more after that. And Stephanie was wonderful. Yeah. Stephanie was great.
What was the casting like?
As an analyst, Stephanie was very, very good. And it was great to have her there with the ladies only because she had been there. She lived it. And Stephanie was a very, very good player and was really good at technical things and would see things beyond just that swing, somebody's demeanor, or somebody who had changed to something previously with their putting style. She would pick up little nuances along the way.
Yeah, no, she was very good. And what was it like casting that show? Because it was a great, bunch of characters on every season. And were you involved with casting, or do you know much about the process?
No, not really. But I was kind of I was privy to the process of casting. With Jay Kossoff basically developed it. And that was his baby. And would show you some clips of people. I think that the clips were very revealing about the contestants or possible contestants.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I was able to see early on. And they'd say, well, watch, here's this guy. This guy's probably on. He's a firecracker. This one's really a piece of work or whatever. But then, you get their bios, but until you meet them and spend some time with them and watch them react in terms of competition, you really don't ever know.
Yeah.
But obviously they wanted lively people. On there as well.
Well, he had season 1 with Don Donatello. I remember him screaming, "Pull that tape tight!" And it's just like,
pull that tape. And right, Don, Don is such a good guy. I had him in the Ryder Cup format. We went to Carnoustie and did Big Break USA versus Europe. And Don was a lightning rod there as well. The thing about Don is, he's a guy who was slight. He's good, but he was kind of slight, and he kind of, he fought for everything he ever got in his life and achieved in his life. And I think that's part of, being your own best cheerleader. And he just needed that fire to get himself going. He was not going to be bullied at any point. And that's just how his personality was. But really a sweet guy. A very sweet guy, but that's a great moment for sure. And then I can't remember the contestants' names from the ladies only. We had help me out who our winner and
I can
it's been a while. It's been
but we had
I can't believe it's close to 20 years.
Oh my gosh, I know we had kind of an up and comer, and then we had a veteran player, and it just had all the soap opera components of it. But it's tough. It really does simulate golf under pressure, I guess, as close as you can to being actual, maybe a tournament or some sort of an event, because you have to execute under pressure. And that's really,
remembering players like Tommy Two Gloves Gainey and Finau, and that they've said it themselves that it's really prepared them for getting out on tour, getting all the cameras, all the attention. It sort of put them in the right frame of mind, and it gave them an expectation of what to expect on tour. I'd love to pivot just a little bit because we're short on time.
One thing though, you have to remember too, with those guys talking about getting ready for tours, they're mic'd up as well. So all of their emotions and reactions are being recorded as well. They had individuals. So, but you're right. And Finau and Tommy were just, you could tell there was something special about both those guys, particularly Tony, who's now Tony Finau.
He's stellar. Yeah, Tony's got a lot of good things.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Where would you like to pivot to, Raf?
Oh, I'm excited about the Champions Tour Learning Center, the Champions Tour, what's happening. Phil Mickelson coming on board last year and really boosting the tour. Now we've got all these players coming on, from Justin Leonard to David Duval, Mike Weir, Stephen Ames. Alker is just proving himself that he deserves to be out there. Then we've got these stories of Bernard Longer, 65 years old. I don't even think he's human. It's not possible. I've got tendonitis and I'm 48. The guy's an alien. So tell us about your experience of doing that show. We think you're doing a wonderful job every week watching that. Hopefully it stays on, and the Champions Tour is growing. This week we saw the KitchenAid Senior PGA Tour Championships, the 22 event with Alker winning. KJ Choi Jimenez, such a character. Tell us about your experiences on the Champions Tour and doing the show.
First of all, it's such a pleasure to be with them each and every week. I love it. I love being with these guys because it's really now a point in their careers where they have let their guard down to a certain extent. They're all grateful to be there. They're having fun. They're getting a second chance at careers. And you meet everyone from a Stephen Alker, who's kind of this out of nowhere story, a New Zealander he's the guy on the tour. I mean, right now, a guy's got 3 wins and he's leading the Charles Schwab Cup standings. He's played incredible golf. But we also have this influx recently of guys like Darren Clark and Ernie Els, and you mentioned Phil Mickelson. And it's not your father's Champions Tour anymore.
That's right.
It's not the, bless their hearts, it's not the Bruce Fleischers or Don January or those guys. These guys are still Ernie Els is still Ernie Els.
Yeah.
Out there, and you
Brian
saw
Gay.
how well Brian Gay's Gay's a very, very good player.
Yeah.
So you can see that these guys can really come out and play. And it's one of those tours where it used to be Corn Ferry, but I'll tell you, the Champions Tour, if you start slow, you're in trouble. It's a 3-round event, 4 rounds for majors. But if you get behind early and somebody goes low 7 under, and you may be done. So it's a sprint. And those guys realize, just how good they have to be each and every day. But to be with them, they're fountains of knowledge. I said they're historians of the game. You can ask them any question about anything, whether it's technical, Ryder Cup, tournaments, U.S. Opens, Open Championship. They've been there. They've lived it. So they're the best information source that we can have. And they're wonderful because, guys, I'll tell you, they're pretty unfiltered at this point, too, in their careers. They kind of don't give a darn about,
yeah, that's right.
That comes with age.
They're great. Yeah.
We've had Rob Labritz on. We've had Rob Labritz and Len Matisse, and they've told us great stories. And you even have players like Colin Montgomery and Mike Weir, Brant Jobe, all these guys, and John Daly, of course, which is always a great storyline and when he's playing well. Tell us about your relationships with the guys over the years and who you've played with. Maybe some funny stories. Something we like to do on the show is talk about some fun or embarrassing golf stories that maybe you could share with us.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing I realize about John Daly is after his pro-ams are so much fun. I don't know how much he has left for tournaments sometimes by the time he gets to Sunday, because he puts on such a show, but he's always very accommodating, super popular. I really enjoy being around Fred Couples. There's another guy that we haven't mentioned yet, and Fred's a legend, another World Golf Hall of Fame member and a major champion and a guy who's still a huge drawing card out there on PGA Tour champions. Phil Mickelson, I've known Phil since I started covering the tour, and it's great to see him come back. I think it hurts golf not to have him in the mix, obviously,
yeah, that's right,
because he's such a big personality. But to me, the intimacy of these lessons is we get that close with major champions and World Golf Hall of Fame members, and they really do want to help you. If you saw these guys in their pro-ams, like Woody Austin is one of the best I've ever seen in a pro-am, taking time to really work with people and help people along the way. And those are moments where you give back to the game or give back to someone. They have that for a lifetime. So it's just being able to be that close to these guys and be able to draw this type of information out from them and get some real opinions. And Raf, you mentioned the fire pit conversations that we have as well. And those are a lot of fun. I'm hoping that we can do a Ryder Cup conversation too with some of our past captains when warranted soon. But just love being around the guys. I think Lee Jansen said it best at my first event. I went out there. I was like, Lee, it's so good to be able to just walk up to you on the practice putting green and talk. He goes, yeah. He goes, we're over ourselves at this point.
Yeah.
So we're okay with you guys now.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But it's different than the PGA Tour where they're trying to grind out majors and build their career. They've done that already. Except for the odd Stephen Alker or character who or Rob Labritz, but they're just in their twilight. They're enjoying things, and
Padraig Harrington. Padraig Harrington is another guy who's in now with a full season. Is a guy that we have to watch as well. He's playing really good golf. Padraig, he does a series. You guys have probably seen it. He does some of this YouTube stuff where he does instruction.
Yes, I've seen some, and
he's fantastic. When it comes to, we try to get him all the time, but I don't want to overuse him, but he's great with whatever you ask him to do. And he's wonderful as well. Listen, I think the tour is just getting tougher and tougher and tougher. But like you said, with the influx of 50-year-olds or people that are now on the cusp, maybe 48 or 49 that are knocking on the door. And really golf itself, as you guys know, has become a sport of athletes. I'm not sure we could have said that pre-Tiger. We had some athletes.
That's right.
These guys come out there, and this is the sport that they have chosen now to play. It's not baseball or basketball. Golf is their sport, and these guys are athletes, and it shows. Just
isn't it
where the
great
game
that the
is.
PGA Tour, it's the only sport where, players could stay competitive, and they've given them a platform where they could play and fans could still come out and enjoy it. I feel like it's growing and it's really going to blow up. I can't imagine if Tiger Woods would come out and play, even though, because lesser known names like Bob Estes or Tim Petrovic, they're still playing well. They're shooting 4 under at a major.
Yeah.
They're doing really great. And guys you don't think are going to play well. Like, I never thought Tim Herron would still have it, moving forward. But you mentioned
look at Alex Check. Alex Check is another guy that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Crushing it. Majors.
You could see the fire in their belly, right? You could see Patrick Harrington and Chris DeMarco. They still have it. Woody Austin, funny enough, he's most known for, bending a putter over his head or being Aquaman, but he was a great player in his day, and he kept up with the best in the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Yeah, he had a run at Tiger Woods in a major. He's a solid player. So the Champions Tour is deep.
No question. They're those guys are, and they've pretty much seen it all, done it all. And you mentioned Tiger being out there. I'm not sure. Wow, that's going to be a tough one. I'll believe it when I see it, fellas. I'll believe it when I see it.
We all want to see it. Can guarantee that. But will he? I have a feeling he will. Just it's his way of contributing back to the game. It might take him a little while. We'll see how his health develops from here. But each year we're getting more and more guys turning 50, and that leaderboard is pretty stacked. I watched more of the senior PGA this weekend than I did the PGA Tour. It's compelling golf, so it's great to see. And for us in Canada, we got our Canadians are kind of rejuvenated themselves, and it's good to see.
See Weirzy, and Weirzy was a little bit. I don't want to say lost, but he was drifting a little bit there toward in those late 40s, and now he's gotten back and he's in great shape and he's confident and he's playing really well. And then Stephen Ames is a guy I talked to, said he got serious about working out, getting back in the gym and doing some health things that he thought would help his game, and we can see where that's taken him. But you made a good point, Mike. A lot of these guys, I think some see this as a destination, but others, while they're playing, say, I'll never play on PGA Tour Champions. You know what? I'm never going to do that. And I talked to Stuart Appleby about that. Before he came out, and he said the same thing. And you have to kind of come around to it a little bit. I think Steve Stricker was holding out and still playing on the regular tour as much as he could. And you have to embrace it. You have to come out there and embrace it and say, this is where I want to be, and this is where I want to play.
It's really just go and have fun. Right. And it's these guys have, for the most part, have their money already. So why not go out and bang it around with your old peers and have some fun, because the fans are going to love it. And the Champions Tour, it's a great place for fans to go enjoy the golf, because you can get close. It's not as crowded. So you can actually get quite close to the players. And, that may change if Tiger plays, but it would be welcomed.
And I think so many guys are now embracing their second act. They realize, like Colin Montgomery, Monty, sure, he can still be probably a little bit surly now, but he's a different Colin Montgomery now, out there on PGA Tour Champions. And he's done some amazing lessons for us. And I've seen him give some amazing lessons as part of tournaments for that particular week. And so just kind of growing into whatever that personality is going to be at the over 50 level. There's a certain, I guess, comfort or casualness that you earn when you're of a certain age. And so I think, like you said, though, those guys, there's really nothing to prove, but they're still, I will tell you this, they're competitive. Don't kid yourself. I mean, it's no fun and games. Those guys are out there to win. It's very competitive.
I'm looking over at John Cook, June 20th. He'll be on the show. We'll be talking a little bit Champions Tour as well. We've been wanting to have him for a while. Got Alan Shipnuck next week to talk about Phil Mickelson. And I guess that's a segue for me to ask you your opinion on Phil Mickelson coming out last year and what it did for the tour. and what's transpired now, and what's the banter in the locker room? Can we get any insight about how the guys feel about Phil Mickelson?
Well, I think it was one of those situations where it was unfortunate because Phil was really riding high. I mean, Phil was back, winning the PGA Championship and coming and playing so well on PGA Tour Champions. But unfortunately, guys, it was one of those situations where so many of those quotes seemed to really cut deeply into all of the entities that were mentioned. And at this particular time, some of those comments can be not only damaging to Phil, but it can isolate you and alienate you a little bit from the rest of the guys on both tours who kind of wanted, like, distance themselves from that particular situation. I know the tour, PGA Tour, feels one way, Live Golf's another, and PGA Tour does not want its star players missing events and going to play somewhere else. Now, if you choose to play there, it seems like there's kind of a line in the sand, and
right.
It's one of those situations where if you make a decision as a player, there could be consequences, and I think that's what Phil is feeling now. The guys I know they wish Phil was out there with them. I think they feel bad that he's not around. So I don't think it's anything like, Phil's a bad guy or Phil's done this, but when he's around, everything's better. It lifts the attention. It lifts the energy level for everything. It's just unfortunate that, it's that kind of has unraveled, and I'm looking forward to him making this return once he sorts out whatever it may be, and not just the comments that he made to Shipnuck. Maybe there's something more to this. I don't know. Maybe there's some personal things that are involved as well. So until he's ready to come forth, we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he was, everyone's favorite until these comments came out, and it's kind of a shame to see how everyone's done an about face on Phil. Because we all want to see him back. He's a fun player to watch, arguably one of the most exciting players to watch, because he's
one of the greatest players to ever live.
And he goes for it. Like, he'll take that risky wild shot with everything on the line, right? And as amateur golfers, we love to watch that stuff, and he wears it on his sleeve. So we like to see him back. And how do you think he would approach coming back into golf? What's his safe landing to get back into the sport?
Boy, that's really a good question. I'm not sure if it's another major, but I think it's just it might be time to have that. Not time now, but when his time is right, to have that air clearing sort of press conference about the whole thing and get it out there once and for all.
That's what we were thinking too.
Answer the questions. Have the press conference, answer the questions so that you don't have to answer them again. And then you can kind of turn the page, a la Tiger, and get to the business of golf. But
Gary Williams was suggesting a one-on-one might be better, and then the press conference. So just to initially, have an appetizer anyway for the media, just to get through that one-on-one.
Well, I'll reach out to him and see if he'll do the one-on-one.
Please, no, that would be fantastic.
That'd be an exclusive.
If we can score that. That'd be a good.
Great.
That'd be a good score for sure. We miss him.
And who knew
Tiger would be this more of this sympathetic figure now, for us as we watch his comeback again take place, and how Tiger has become more human in the post-round interviews and just the interviews in general, where he's self-deprecating and realizes where he's been, and we realize where he is trying to get to and what he's trying to work through right now. When you hear about the preparation it took just to get out there and try to play, but it's, this, guys, it's tough to come back and try to play in majors if you have a severe injury like that. I mean, that's
He was looking at amputating his leg. At least the option was on the table, and then here he is a year later, coming up back to the Masters, and
the leg was crushed. The leg was crushed.
It's just an unbelievable story. And should he win again, it's going to be even sweeter than his last Masters victory. So
I wouldn't count him out.
no, never. No, that's when he's taught us. And I know we're running, on short on time here, Vince. But one of our favorite things to do, as you mentioned, is it's a good story or two. Do you got something funny in the tank? Whether embarrassing golf story for yourself or something that's happened while you were out covering on tour.
I just most of the stories that I have that really stick with me are from sort of the legends. I told you one about Arnold, what he said to me before we went on. I remember at the memorial, Jack Nicklaus does a clinic every year. Yeah. And they asked me to help host, and usually a player will come out and demonstrate. I think Kenny Perry was out there demonstrating. So we were resetting cameras, and Jack was standing there with the 1-iron, that his famous 1-iron, and I was like, it's kind of quiet and it's awkward. You're thinking of something just to break the ice. And I said, geez, Mr. Nicklaus, I said, that 1-iron's intimidating. And he looked at me, he said, it's just a golf club. And I said, to you, it's just a golf club. To me, it looks like an impossible task. I mean, I guess to Picasso, it was just a paintbrush, and to Beethoven, it was just a piano. But that's how Jack Nicklaus sees the game. It's always like I said, the legends that I really enjoy being around. Let me see what other stories we might have. Oh, I remember at the old Grand Slam of golf was played in Kauai. And I was with my wife and 3 sons, and they were small back then. This had to be like 2004. And Phil was won his Masters, so he was part of that group. And he came by the Hyatt swimming pool and said, "Listen, we're going to play volleyball today, water volleyball. We're playing you guys, so get a team, and we'll meet you at the pool." Like, it wasn't like, "Would you like to play?" So I was like, "Oh boy." So I told my other 2 sons, I had my youngest, I had the other 2, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll play. Let's go." Yeah. And it turned into a vicious volleyball game with cutting remarks and Phil trying to call things that wasn't in, may have been out, and my son's piping up, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not good. Phil's never going to talk to me after all. We're like going tooth and nail for a dumb pool volleyball game." But they ended up beating him, and I remember how proud they were. They came back and told their mother, like, "We beat Phil in water volleyball." So they were pretty happy about that.
Well, if you're just joining us, we've got Vince Cellini on from the Champions Learning Center, now covering a whole bunch of sports. He's got a little bit of an acting career and commercial career that we hear about. Just on a lighter note, Vince, tell us a bit about what you would do for an ultimate foursome. Now, anyone dead or alive, excluding family, who would you love to get out and play with? Any player, dead or alive, or even personality. It doesn't even need to be a player. And which golf course would it be on?
Okay. I think if I had to choose, it would be Hogan. It would be Nicklaus. And probably Trevino.
Yeah,
interesting.
That would be fun.
Because Trevino would be the balance between the other 2. And I'm just I'm a Hoganophile. Like, I find that he's a touchstone of golf. Yeah. And I always wish that I had a chance to meet him or speak with him. I think he's the father of modern golf. And
well
then,
said.
Of course,
well said.
Jack is he's an Ohio guy. He's an Ohio State legend. Yeah. So it would have to be Nicklaus. And then Trevino, I just feel like he's someone who's I never saw anyone get that much joy out of the game. Just being out there, and in his 80s now, still having the same type of energy where he talks to you about the game in a very easy, simple way to process. Yeah. And I think that he's still a real treasure for the game, and a guy that I don't know that there may not ever be another story like that, where this poor Mexican kid in Texas becomes Lee Trevino. I don't know if is that possible anymore, that somebody has that type of life. I don't know.
He's got a unique story, sleeping in bunkers and all kinds of stuff.
You know, a
Gambling
son of
with
a
no
grave
money in his
digger.
pocket, and he's got some stories. So,
probably those guys.
so imagine you're on your way to play golf. You got a big match. What are you jamming in the car to get yourself excited musically? What's your soundtrack?
Let's see. I'm gonna get myself. Well, I know for workouts I play Eminem.
There we go. Yeah,
that kind of gets me going, and then I'll do anything like 70s rock.
Yeah,
any type of 70s like super hard jam. I listen to whenever I need to get like pumped up like that, I'll put on anything from Kiss to Eminem to 60s, like I don't know, the Who. I'm sort of a classic rock guy.
yeah.
So that's probably not a very fun answer, but that's kind of where I'll go with it.
No, it's good.
That's good stuff.
We've had some odd ones like Katy Perry and stuff.
Katy Perry.
Yeah, that was. Who was that?
Wow.
I think that was Craig Can. Was that
boy,
Craig
yeah.
Can? And,
Craig Can. I don't know if he was pulling her leg or what, but he did say that.
Now I'd love to bring Katy Perry along.
Yes.
But
that's a different
not
story.
necessarily her music.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, Vince, let's wrap things up by asking you where you see the Champions Tour going. Is it growing? Is there bigger sponsors? I know there's a few new events happening in the early part of the calendar for the following year. And what can we expect for this week's Champions Learning Center show?
Well, I think the Champions Tour is in great shape. Miller Brady has been a wonderful guidance for that particular tournament or event. Tour. And I think that the fact that we're getting the influx of such great talent and the talent we have already with the veteran talent, I think it makes it the best show. To me, they're the best interviews, the greatest teachers and the greatest historians in the game. Club Corp, I was in Dallas for Club Corp, which is a big success this year. And next year, an event that's going to be in Palm Springs, which is going to also be on the calendar. So we're getting back to that area.
Great.
It's a wonderful pro-am and it's a wonderful show if you have a chance to see them. And I'll tell you this, it's another chance to take your son or daughter and go out and say, see that's Fred Couples out there. Let's go watch him play. Or there's Bernhard Langer. You can say you saw him play today.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing to be able to pass on to your children and grandchildren, to be able to say you saw one of the all-time best out there. This week on Learning Center, let's see what we have. Stuart Appleby gives us a bunker lesson. We also talked to Ray Allen, the former NBA champion who was at the Club Corp, and he talked about how golf has become so important in his life now, and some of the basketball lessons that he applies to it and what he has learned
Very cool.
from the game of golf. And we'll also wrap up KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship with Stephen Alker. Let's see, what else do we have on there? We go fishing with Stephen Ames.
Oh, yeah.
And
nice.
I've
been going back and forth with Stephen. He's going to get on maybe sometime soon. He doesn't seem like a big sponsor kind of guy. He's pretty low key, but he's playing better every week.
Oh yeah, and we'll preview Insperity Invitational, which is coming up. So we'll be doing all that this week. It's always a lot of fun, and we get great lessons and tips from the best that ever played. So
that's great.
Looking forward to another week.
No, that's fantastic. So
okay.
Yeah, that's great, Vince. No, I appreciate it. And to our viewers, as usual, this is up on YouTube. We'll share it on our social media platforms. Tomorrow it will be out on 17 different podcast platforms. And please check it out. Subscribe, share, engage with us. It's all appreciated. So, and again, Vince, thank you.
Last question for you guys. Should I keep this or not? Keep it.
Keep it. Yeah.
It's looking good.
It's right, distinguishing.
Yeah. Well, for Mike Bleackley, Vince Cellini, I'm Rafael Kalamat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. And until next week, make sure you tune in. We've got Alan Shipnuck. We'll be talking about the unauthorized Phil Mickelson biography. Should be a lot of fun. Vince, thanks again. You're great.
Thank
Keep
you,
up the great
guys.
Thanks,
work.
Vince.
Appreciate it.
That was
Thank you so
fantastic.
much.